Our planet is a blue planet dominated by the vast deep ocean, and yet along the sunlit edges of our continents lie the most vibrant and productive regions of all, the coastal seas. These shallow waters make up a mere fraction of the world's oceans, perhaps only 10% of the total area. But within this narrow, life-giving ribbon, an astonishing 90% of all marine creatures make their homes. It is a world of immense richness and bewildering variety, a bustling frontier where the land gives way to the sea, and where life has blossomed in countless, extraordinary forms. From the smallest plankton to the largest whales, this is the cradle of oceanic life. For humanity, these coastal waters have always been a source of sustenance and wonder. For millennia, we have drawn our livelihoods from their bounty, harvesting the abundant fish that swim in these fertile grounds. Billions of people around the globe still depend directly on the health of these ecosystems for their daily food and economic security. The connection is profound and ancient, but our relationship with the coastal seas is changing. As our numbers have grown and our technologies have advanced, our impact has become greater than ever before, placing these critical habitats under immense and unprecedented pressure that threatens their very existence. These shallow seas are not just one single environment, but a mosaic of interconnected worlds. Each habitat, from the waving meadows of seagrass to the tangled roots of mangrove forests, plays a unique and indispensable role. They are nurseries for the young, providing shelter from predators and a rich supply of food. They are hunting grounds for the powerful and the swift, and they are sanctuaries for the gentle and the slow. The health of our entire ocean planet is inextricably linked to the vitality of these precious coastal margins, which serve as the engine room for marine biodiversity and productivity on a global scale. As we journey through these remarkable realms, we will discover the intricate connections that bind these communities together. We will witness the delicate balance that must be maintained for them to thrive, a balance that is now being dangerously disturbed. The story of our coastal seas is, in many ways, the story of life on Earth itself. It is a story of resilience, adaptation, and extraordinary beauty. But it is also a story that has reached a critical chapter, one that calls for our understanding, our respect, and our urgent action to protect these wonders for the generations that will follow. Just as our lands are graced with vast forests and sprawling grasslands, so too are our coastal seas. In the warm, shallow, tropical waters of places like the Everglades, we find the savannas of the sea, immense seagrass meadows. These underwater prairies are far more than just simple fields of green. They are thriving ecosystems, providing food and shelter for a huge diversity of life, from tiny seahorses clinging to the blades to gentle manatees grazing peacefully. These meadows are also powerful allies in our fight against a changing climate. Astonishingly, a given area of seagrass can absorb carbon dioxide 35 times faster than the same area of tropical rainforest, locking it away in the seabed below. In the zone where land and sea meet, another type of forest takes root. Mangrove forests are a wonder of adaptation, a community of trees uniquely capable of tolerating the ever-shifting levels of salt water. Their tangled, arching roots form a formidable barrier, a natural sea defense that protects coastlines from the destructive force of storm surges and erosion. But their greatest gift is what lies beneath the water's surface. This dense labyrinth of roots creates a safe and sheltered nursery for countless species of young fish. Here, protected from larger predators, they can grow to maturity before venturing out into the open reef or the deeper ocean, replenishing fish stocks far and wide. Moving to the colder, more temperate regions of our planet, we find another spectacular underwater forest. Off the coast of California, giant kelp forests tower towards the sunlit surface. These are the redwoods of the sea. Anchored to the rocky seabed, these magnificent algae can grow at an incredible rate, reaching heights of up to 50 meters. Their long, waving fronds create a complex three-dimensional world, a vertical city teeming with life. Fish of all kinds find refuge amongst the canopy, while invertebrates cling to the stalks. This rich environment provides food and shelter for a vast community, forming one of the most dynamic and productive ecosystems on Earth. Each of these habitats, seagrass, mangrove, and kelp, is a powerhouse of life and a crucial carbon sink. They are the green lungs of our coastal seas, breathing in carbon dioxide and providing the oxygen and sustenance that countless creatures depend upon. They demonstrate the incredible ways in which life has adapted to harness the sun's energy in these shallow waters. The destruction of these underwater forests has consequences that ripple throughout the entire ocean, diminishing biodiversity, weakening our coastlines, and releasing vast stores of carbon back into the atmosphere, which only accelerates the warming of our planet. Of all the habitats in our coastal seas, none are more dazzling or diverse than coral reefs. These extraordinary structures are built by tiny animals, colonial polyps, over thousands of years. Though they cover less than 1% of the entire ocean floor, they are home to a staggering quarter of all known marine species. They are the bustling metropolises of the ocean, vibrant explosions of color and activity. The intricate architecture of the coral itself provides the foundation for this entire community, offering food, shelter, and breeding grounds for an almost unbelievable array of fish, crustaceans, mollusks, and countless other creatures. The reef is a self-contained world, a masterpiece of natural engineering. The secret to the coral's success lies in a remarkable partnership. Living within the tissues of each coral polyp are microscopic algae. Through photosynthesis, these algae harness the power of the sun, producing sugars that provide the coral with up to 90% of its energy. This symbiotic relationship is what allows corals to build their massive limestone skeletons and create the complex structures that support so much life. It is also what gives the corals their spectacular colors. The algae are the power source, the lifeblood of the reef. Without them, the coral cannot survive, and the entire city would crumble into a barren wasteland. Tragically, this vital partnership is now under severe threat from the warming of our oceans. Even a small increase in water temperature, as little as 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, places the coral under extreme stress. In response, they expel the algae from their tissues. This event is known as coral bleaching. The coral loses its primary source of food and its vibrant color, leaving behind a ghostly white skeleton. If the high temperatures persist for just a few weeks, the coral will starve and die. What was once a thriving city of life becomes a silent, algae-covered graveyard, its residents gone. This is not a distant threat. It is happening right now on a catastrophic scale. In recent years, massive bleaching events have devastated reefs around the world, from the Caribbean to the Pacific. Over 1,000 kilometers of Australia's Great Barrier Reef suffered from bleaching in 2016 and 2017, and much of that coral is now dead. Scientists estimate that half of the world's shallow water coral reefs have already been lost, with the added threat of ocean acidification, which makes it harder for corals to build their skeletons. We are at risk of losing the rest within a few decades, an unimaginable loss for our planet. In every complex ecosystem, there are certain species whose presence is so crucial that their absence would cause the entire system to collapse. These are known as keystone species. In the coastal seas, sharks are one of the most important. For millions of years, they have been the top predators, shaping the communities they live in. By preying on the sick, the weak, and the unwary, they maintain the health of fish populations. More importantly, they control the numbers of smaller mid-level predators. This has a cascade effect right down the food chain, allowing other species to flourish and ensuring that no single group dominates the ecosystem. A healthy coral reef is a perfect illustration of this balance. In places like French Polynesia, where sharks receive full protection, they thrive in great numbers. Grey reef sharks patrol the outer edges, while smaller white-tip reef sharks hunt within the coral crevices. By keeping the populations of smaller carnivores in check, they allow herbivorous fish, the grazers of the reef, to prosper. These grazing fish are essential, as they feed on the algae that constantly threaten to overgrow and smother the corals. Without the sharks, the mid-level predators would multiply, the grazers would be decimated, and the algae would take over, choking the life from the reef. A similar story unfolds in the giant kelp forests of California. Here, the sea otter is the keystone keeper of the forest. These charming and intelligent mammals have a voracious appetite, needing to eat about a quarter of their body weight every single day just to stay warm in the cold Pacific waters. Their favorite food is the sea urchin. Sea urchins, in turn, graze on kelp, and if their populations are left unchecked, they can move through the forest like a destructive army, mowing down the kelp stalks at their base. An entire forest can be reduced to a barren, empty wasteland in a very short time. By diligently hunting and eating the urchins, the sea otters control their numbers and protect the kelp forest. The health of this entire magnificent ecosystem depends on this single predator. The otters ensure the kelp can grow tall and strong, providing the food and shelter that supports hundreds of other species. The stories of the shark and the sea otter are powerful reminders that every creature has a role to play. The removal of a single critical species can unravel the intricate web of life that has taken millennia to weave, with devastating consequences for all. While competition and predation are powerful forces that shape life in the coastal seas, so too is cooperation. In these dynamic environments, we can witness some of the most sophisticated and, honestly, surprising examples of teamwork in the animal kingdom. These alliances, forged over countless generations, allow animals to achieve what they simply could not alone, increasing their chances of survival and success. One of the most remarkable examples of this can be seen in the shallow seagrass meadows of the Everglades, where bottlenose dolphins have developed an ingenious and unique hunting strategy to catch mullet. Working as a team, one dolphin will begin to swim in a tight circle around a school of fish. As it does so, it powerfully beats its tail against the soft seabed. This action kicks up a plume of mud, creating a circular, temporary net that traps the fish within it. The panicked mullet, seeing no other escape, leap from the water in a desperate attempt to clear the muddy barrier. But the other dolphins in the pod are waiting, positioned perfectly with their mouths open, ready to snatch the fish right out of the air. This mud-wringing technique is a complex, learned behavior, passed down from mother to calf. A different kind of partnership unfolds in the coral reefs of French Polynesia. Here, two species of shark, the powerful grey reef shark and the more slender, agile white-tip reef shark, often hunt together. The grey reef sharks are adept at chasing down fish in the open water around the reef, but they are simply too large to follow their prey into the narrow cracks and crevices of the coral. The white-tips, however, are perfectly built for this. They can wriggle deep into the reef structure, flushing out fish that are hiding. This cooperative hunting benefits both species, as prey that escapes one hunter is often driven directly towards the other. Perhaps the most spectacular display of marine cooperation is the bubble net feeding of humpback whales. Off the coast of Alaska, where herring gather in vast shoals, a group of humpbacks will work together to corral their prey. One whale will dive deep below the shoal and begin to release a stream of bubbles while swimming in an upward spiral. These bubbles form a curtain, a net that confuses and contains the herring. The other whales will produce loud calls to further panic the fish, driving them into a tight ball. On a coordinated signal, the entire team then lunges upwards through the center of the net, mouths agape, engulfing thousands of fish in a single, massive gulp. For centuries, the coastal seas have seemed a source of limitless bounty. But today, our demand for seafood and the industrial scale of our fishing operations have pushed many of these vital ecosystems to the brink of collapse. Unsustainable fishing is now a global crisis. Powerful modern vessels using vast nets and advanced fish-finding technology can empty an area of fish with terrifying efficiency. We are simply taking too many fish out of the ocean too quickly for populations to be able to recover. It is estimated that a third of the world's spawning fish stocks have already collapsed due to overfishing. The story of the Pacific herring is a sobering example. These small silver fish once formed colossal shoals that were the lifeblood of the coastal ecosystems of North America. Their annual spawning events turned the shorelines milky white for miles. They were a critical food source for a huge variety of predators, including stellar sea lions, bald eagles, and the magnificent humpback whales. But decades of industrial fishing, targeting the herring for their roe, have reduced their populations to a mere fraction of their former numbers. The consequences are felt throughout the food web as the animals that depend on them struggle to find enough to eat. Off the coast of South America, we find the largest single fishery on the planet, targeting the anchovy. The cold, nutrient-rich waters of the Humboldt Current support a staggering population of these small fish. Each year, fishing fleets here catch a volume of anchovies that accounts for a tenth of all fish caught from our oceans globally. These fish are not primarily for human consumption, but are ground down into fish meal and oil to feed farmed fish and livestock. This massive removal of a cornerstone species places immense strain on the natural ecosystem, which includes millions of seabirds, sea lions, and other predators that depend entirely on the anchovies for their survival. When fishing becomes this intensive and indiscriminate, the very structure of the marine community can change. In many overfished parts of the world, we are witnessing a disturbing trend. Jellyfish are beginning to replace fish. Jellyfish thrive in environments where their predators and competitors, the fish, have been removed. They consume vast quantities of fish eggs and larvae, further preventing the recovery of fish stocks. The rise of jellyfish blooms is a clear and alarming signal of a marine ecosystem that has been pushed dangerously out of balance, a sign that we have fundamentally broken the natural order of the sea. While overfishing visibly depletes our oceans, a more silent and pervasive threat is fundamentally altering the very chemistry of our coastal seas' climate change. The burning of fossil fuels has released enormous quantities of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and our oceans have absorbed a vast amount of the resulting excess heat. This warming is not uniform. The shallow coastal waters are heating up particularly fast. As we've seen, this rise in temperature is the direct cause of catastrophic coral bleaching events which threaten to annihilate entire reef ecosystems within our lifetimes. The very foundations of these marine cities are dissolving in the warm water. But the heat is only part of the problem. The ocean has also absorbed about a quarter of all the carbon dioxide we have released. When CO2 dissolves in seawater, it undergoes a chemical reaction that makes the water more acidic. This process, known as ocean acidification, is sometimes called the other CO2 problem. It is a profound and dangerous change for many marine creatures. For organisms that build shells or skeletons out of calcium carbonate, such as corals, clams, oysters, and even tiny plankton at the base of the food web, more acidic water makes their task much harder. It's like trying to build a house with dissolving bricks. This change in chemistry poses a grave threat to the future of our coastal seas. The shells of some small creatures can literally begin to dissolve in the increasingly corrosive water. For corals, acidification weakens their skeletons, making them more brittle and vulnerable to storm damage, and slows their growth rate, hindering their ability to recover from bleaching events. This impacts not only the corals themselves, but also the quarter of all marine species that depend on the reef for their survival. The fundamental building blocks of many marine ecosystems are being steadily eroded by this invisible chemical shift. The combined assault of warming waters and increasing acidity is a devastating 1-2 punch for our coastal seas. These global stressors weaken ecosystems from the inside out, reducing their resilience and making them more vulnerable to other pressures like pollution and overfishing. An ecosystem stressed by warming is less able to cope with the depletion of its fish stocks, and a reef weakened by acidification cannot easily recover from physical damage. We are running a global, uncontrolled experiment with our planet's life support system, and the consequences for both marine life and humanity are proving to be dire. In the face of such widespread challenges, it is easy to feel that the damage is irreversible. But the natural world has an extraordinary capacity for recovery if we only give it the chance. All across the globe, there are powerful stories of hope, examples where decisive action has led to the remarkable rebound of marine ecosystems. One of the most inspiring comes from the seas around Misul, in the Raja Ampat archipelago of Indonesia. For years, these waters were plagued by unregulated and destructive fishing, including shark finning and dynamite fishing, which had left the reefs barren and empty. In 2007, a transformative decision was made. In partnership with local communities, a large area around Misul was fully protected from all forms of fishing. A no-take marine reserve was established and patrolled. The results, just 1 decade later, were nothing short of miraculous. Scientific surveys revealed that the total biomass of fish had more than tripled. Most astonishingly, the number of sharks, the crucial top predators, had increased by 25 times. A place that was once a camp for shark fishermen transformed into a safe nursery for baby sharks, and endangered giant manta rays with wingspans of up to 7 meters returned to this sanctuary. A similar story of recovery unfolded off the coast of Peru. About 50 years ago, the combination of a natural climate cycle and intense overfishing caused the local anchovy fishery to collapse completely. The vast seabird colonies that depended on the anchovies vanished. The ecosystem was broken. In response, strict controls were eventually put in place to manage the fishery sustainably, setting catch limits based on scientific advice and protecting the anchovies during their crucial spawning seasons. It took time, but the system began to heal. The fish stocks slowly but surely recovered. Today, the Peruvian coast is once again a spectacle of abundance. The recovering anchovy population supports a thriving ecosystem, an incredible 3 million guanai cormorants, birds that were once on the brink of disappearing from the region, now gather here annually to breed. Their success is a direct measure of the health of the sea. These examples, from the tropical reefs of Misul to the productive currents of Peru, prove a vital point. Our oceans are not lost causes. When we have the wisdom and the will to reduce the pressures we place upon them, marine life can and will bounce back, often with surprising speed and abundance. The health of our coastal seas is not a peripheral issue. It is central to the stability of our planet and the future of humanity. These vibrant ecosystems provide food for billions, support the livelihoods of hundreds of millions, and protect our coastlines from the growing power of the ocean. They are critical allies in the fight against climate change, absorbing vast amounts of carbon. The intricate web of life they support is a source of endless wonder and scientific discovery. We are now at a pivotal moment in our history, where the choices we make will determine the fate of these precious natural treasures. The science is clear. The primary threats to our coastal seas are overfishing and climate change, and we have the solutions to address both. By transitioning our global economy away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy, we can slow the warming and acidification of our oceans, giving habitats like coral reefs a fighting chance to survive. And by reforming our approach to fisheries, we can end the destructive practice of overfishing. The evidence from protected areas around the world shows us that when we manage our fisheries wisely, fish stocks recover, and both the ecosystem and the fishing communities benefit in the long run. The most powerful tool we have for restoring the health of our oceans is the creation of marine protected areas. Just as we have national parks on land, we need to set aside significant portions of our seas where nature can be left to recover. free from the pressures of fishing and other extractive activities. These no-take zones act as reservoirs of life. Within their boundaries, fish populations grow, individuals become larger and produce far more offspring, and the entire ecosystem regains its complexity and resilience. This abundance then spills over into surrounding waters, helping to replenish the areas where fishing is still permitted. Experts believe that if we can establish a global network of well-managed marine protected areas across at least one-third of our coastal seas, we can secure a healthy future for our oceans. This ambitious but achievable goal would allow our planet's fisheries to recover, ensuring a sustainable source of food for a growing human population while allowing the magnificent diversity of marine life to thrive. The choice is ours. We can continue on our current path and watch as these vibrant worlds decline, or we can work together to protect these vital ecosystems. For the sake of all life on Earth, we must choose to act.